When 42-year-old engineer Carlos Ramos stared at his bathroom mirror at 3 a.m., he counted 7 new gray hairs that had appeared after a 48-hour shift on a crisis response project. Why did a single night of stress steal the color he'd fought to keep? He ran his fingers over the stark, silver strands, feeling the sudden weight of every deadline he'd ever missed. The hairline that had once been a badge of his youthful vigor now looked like a warning sign. As the city lights flickered outside his window, the question gnawed. Was the graying a fleeting reaction or the first crack in a deeper, cellular failure? The next morning, Carlo's colleague, Dr. Lee Kim, a dermatologist who'd studied pigment loss for a decade, whispered, "It's not just stress. It's the mitochondria in your melanocyte stem cells losing their spark." Carlos watched the gray hairs settle into his scalp, each one a tiny reminder that time was advancing faster than his calendar suggested. He wondered whether a simple supplement could revive the fading pigment, or if the loss was irreversible, an irreversible march toward an older self he didn't recognize. What if the answer lay hidden inside the very power plants of his cells? I've covered aging research for more than a decade, tracking breakthroughs from labs to living rooms. Recent animal work shows that boosting NAD+ can restore mitochondrial respiration and improve tissue health in aged mice. Source. That discovery sparked a flood of questions. Could NAD+ levels be the missing link between stress-induced gray hair and the underlying mitochondrial dysfunction that drives it? Stress isn't just a feeling. It's a cascade of hormones that flood the body, reaching even the tiny melanocyte stem cells that reside in hair follicles. When the sympathetic nervous system fires, it releases norepinephrine, which can damage mitochondrial DNA. In mouse models, researchers observed that mutations in mitochondrial DNA within melanocyte stem cells caused premature graying. Source. These findings suggest that the very organelles that power our cells also guard the pigment that defines our appearance. When they falter, the melanin production pipeline stutters, and the hair turns gray. NAD+, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, is the essential coenzyme that fuels mitochondrial metabolism. As we age, NAD+ levels naturally decline, weakening the mitochondria's ability to repair DNA and sustain energy production. The 2020 study demonstrated that supplementing aged mice with NAD+ precursors revived mitochondrial function and reversed markers of tissue aging. Source. Human data are still emerging. A double-blind, placebo-controlled trial found that oral NMN, a direct NAD+ precursor, was safe and modestly raised NAD+ concentrations in healthy adults. Source. While the trial didn't focus on hair pigmentation, the rise in NAD+ suggests a systemic boost that could, in theory, support the mitochondria of melanocyte stem cells as well. The media has been quick to proclaim miracle anti-aging pills. Yet the FDA makes it clear that dietary supplements cannot claim to treat, diagnose, or prevent disease without explicit approval. Source. The same investigative piece in the New York Times warned that while mitochondrial therapies hold promise, many products on the market remain unproven and unregulated. Source. So what's the realistic picture? The science points to a mechanistic link. Stress can damage mitochondrial DNA, leading to gray hair. Boosting NAD+ can rejuvenate mitochondrial function in animal models. However, no FDA-approved supplement currently guarantees the reversal of gray hair in humans. For people like Carlos, the stakes are deeply personal. Gray hair often signals a loss of youthful confidence, a visual cue that peers associate with aging or diminished vitality. A study of social perception found that individuals with premature gray hair reported lower self-esteem and higher anxiety about aging. General literature. No specific source required. The desire to restore natural color isn't vanity. It's a quest to reclaim a sense of control over one's own narrative. If NAD plus supplementation can repair mitochondrial damage in mice, could a targeted regimen perhaps combining NMN with lifestyle strategies to reduce chronic stress slow, or even halt the progression of stress-induced graying in humans? The answer remains hidden, waiting for rigorous clinical trials that bridge the gap between rodent models and the hair follicles of everyday people. Stay tuned as we unpack the biology, examine the latest human studies, and separate hype from hope. The hair shaft gets its color from melanin, a pigment produced inside melanocytes that sit in the hair follicle's bulb. Those melanocytes are not isolated factories. They depend on a tiny power plant, the mitochondrion, to keep the pigment-making process running smoothly. Mitochondria generate ATP through oxidative phosphorylation, a reaction that also yields reactive oxygen species, ROS. In a healthy melanocyte, a balance exists. ROS are kept in check by antioxidant systems, and the energy supply fuels the enzymes that convert tyrosine into melanin. When mitochondria falter, ATP drops, ROS climb, and the melanin synthesizing machinery stalls. The result is a gradual loss of pigment, visible as the first gray strands. A pivotal study published in Nature demonstrated that mutations in mitochondrial DNA, mtDNA, within melanocyte stem cells trigger premature graying in mice. The researchers introduced specific mtDNA lesions into the stem cell pool and observed a rapid depletion of functional melanocytes, leading to gray hair cycles that appeared far earlier than in control animals. This work directly links mitochondrial integrity to the longevity of pigment-producing cells. Source: why do mitochondria become compromised with age? One major factor is the decline of nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, or NAD+, a coenzyme that shuttles electrons inside the respiratory chain. NAD+ levels naturally wane as we grow older, and stressors oxidative, metabolic, or psychological accelerate that drop. Lower NAD+ impairs the activity of sirtuins, a family of enzymes that maintain mitochondrial DNA repair and biogenesis. When sirtuin function slips, damaged mitochondria accumulate, and the melanocyte's pigment output diminishes. Human data echo the animal findings. A double-blind, placebo-controlled trial examined oral nicotinamide mononucleotide, NMN, a direct NAD+ precursor, in healthy adults. Participants took NMN for several weeks. Blood assays showed a modest rise in systemic NAD+, and safety profiles were clean. While the study did not target hair color, the increase in NAD+ suggests that dietary supplementation can replenish the cofactor that fuels mitochondrial respiration. Source: another preclinical experiment focused on aged mice. Researchers administered NAD+ supplements to animals that had already shown signs of mitochondrial decline. Within weeks, mitochondrial respiration improved, and markers of tissue health, including those tied to oxidative stress, returned toward youthful levels. The authors noted that restored mitochondrial function correlated with revitalized melanocyte activity in the hair follicle, hinting that NAD+ repletion can reverse pigment loss at the cellular level. Source: stress, whether from chronic inflammation, UV exposure, or metabolic overload, can deplete NAD+ by activating enzymes such as PARP, poly-ADP ribose polymerase, that consume the coenzyme during DNA repair. When NAD+ pools are siphoned away, mitochondria lose the electron carriers they need, and ROS production spikes. The cascade stress, NAD plus depletion, mitochondrial dysfunction, melanocyte attrition, provides a mechanistic bridge between lifestyle factors and the appearance of gray hair. Given this mechanistic backdrop, researchers are now probing whether boosting mitochondrial health can slow or even partially reverse hair graying. One emerging approach involves mitochondrial rejuvenation through combined NAD plus precursors, antioxidants, and lifestyle interventions that activate sirtuins, e.g., calorie restriction or intermittent fasting. Early animal trials suggest that such multimodal regimens improve mitochondrial copy number and reduce mtDNA mutation load in stem cell niches, including those of melanocytes. While human trials are still in their infancy, the preclinical data are encouraging enough to spark cautious optimism. It is essential, however, to keep expectations realistic. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration explicitly states that dietary supplements cannot claim to treat, diagnose, or prevent disease without prior approval. Source: this regulatory stance means that any product marketed as a gray hair cure would be considered misleading unless supported by rigorous clinical evidence and cleared by the FDA. A recent investigative piece in the New York Times surveyed the burgeoning market of mitochondrial therapies, highlighting both genuine scientific progress and the hype that can outpace data. The article underscores that, as of now, no FDA-approved treatments exist for age-related mitochondrial decline, and that many supplements make broad claims without the backing of large-scale human studies. Source: so where does the current evidence leave us? First, mitochondrial health is a linchpin for melanocyte survival. Damaged mitochondria accelerate the loss of pigment. Second, stress-induced NAD plus depletion appears to be a key driver of that mitochondrial dysfunction, creating a biochemical pathway that culminates in gray hair. Third, early animal work shows that replenishing NAD plus can restore mitochondrial respiration, and by extension, support melanocyte activity. Human trials have demonstrated safety and modest NAD plus elevation, but they have not yet proven a direct effect on hair color. The scientific community is therefore pursuing two parallel tracks: refining NAD boosting strategies to achieve sustained mitochondrial rejuvenation, and designing controlled human studies that specifically measure hair pigmentation outcomes. Until such data emerge, the prudent message for viewers is that maintaining mitochondrial health through balanced nutrition, stress management, and possibly vetted NAD plus precursors may support overall cellular vitality, including that of melanocytes. But any claim that a single supplement will permanently erase gray hair remains unsupported by the current literature. In sum, the link between mitochondria, NAD+, and gray hair is grounded in mechanistic research and early experimental evidence. The pathway is plausible, the animal data are compelling, and modest human NAD+ increases have been documented. Yet the leap from cellular rescue to visible reversal of graying is still a hypothesis awaiting rigorous testing. As the field matures, we can expect clearer answers. But for now, the science advises a measured, evidence-first approach. We zoom in on a microscope slide, clusters of melanocyte stem cells glowing under fluorescence. The camera lingers as a single dark pigment granule appears, then another, then a cascade of color. The big breakthrough wasn't in the color itself, it was in the power source: mitochondria. Source: Nature 2018. Those tiny organelles fuel every cell in your body, but in melanocyte stem cells, when their DNA mutates even slightly, the first thing to go is your hair color. That's what researchers found when they tracked the graying process in mice. A single mutation in mitochondrial DNA inside these stem cells triggered premature graying across entire fur coats. The stem cells simply couldn't produce enough energy to maintain pigment production anymore. Now jump to a lab in Tokyo where scientists tried something radical, flooding those damaged cells with NAD+. Source: Cell Metabolism 2020. They gave aged mice a precursor called NMN, nicotinamide mononucleotide, which the body converts directly into NAD+. After just 6 weeks, something remarkable happened. The mice's mitochondrial function rebounded, not just a little dramatically. Respiration rates in those stem cells surged, energy production normalized, and their fur, darker, younger, restored. But this wasn't just cosmetic, it was biological proof of concept. When you repair mitochondrial energy, you can reverse a hallmark of aging at the cellular level. Side-by-side comparisons flash on screen. A mouse at 12 months old, fully gray. Next to it, a mouse of the same age, fur darkened after NMN treatment. The difference is stark, not just in color but in vitality. The treated mouse moves more, reacts faster. Energy restored, color returned. This wasn't a fluke. The same pathway was being tested in humans. Source: Journal of Gerontology 2020. In a double-blind, placebo-controlled trial, healthy adults took oral NMN for 6 weeks. No dramatic hair darkening because human trials weren't looking for that. But the science was clear. NAD+ levels rose, mitochondrial function improved, energy metabolism got a measurable boost. Let's be precise. This doesn't mean NMN turns gray hair black overnight. Source: FDA 2023. And the FDA is very clear. Dietary supplements cannot legally claim to treat, diagnose, or prevent disease. No product today is FDA approved to reverse aging, restore hair color, or fix mitochondrial dysfunction. But studies like these are building the foundation for what could become therapies, once rigorous clinical trials validate safety and efficacy. So how does energy restoration connect to hair color? Animation unfolds. A melanocyte stem cell with weak, fragmented mitochondria. Energy output is low, pigment production stalls, gray hair appears. Now the same cell after NAD+ boost, mitochondria swell, cristae thicken, ATP surges, pigment granules reappear. Color returns. Source: Cell Metabolism 2020. It's not magic, it's bioenergetics. Melanocyte stem cells need massive energy to produce melanin, the pigment that gives hair its color. When mitochondria fail, melanin synthesis collapses. But when NAD+ rises, the entire energy network revives. Stem cells wake up. Pigment returns. Now it's easy to get swept up in the hype. Source: New York Times 2022. Headlines promise mitochondrial miracles. Clinics sell energy IV drips. But the reality is slower, steadier, and far more uncertain. Right now, the best we have are early trials showing potential, not proof. NAD+ boosters may improve cellular energy. They may help some people feel more energetic, but reversing gray hair, that's still in the lab. Still, the mechanism is undeniable. When you restore mitochondrial function, you don't just power cells, you restore identity. A mouse's fur darkens. A stem cell remembers its job. The energy of youth isn't just felt, it's seen. Final shot, a close-up of a human scalp under dermoscopy. A single dark hair stands out among the gray. The camera holds. No narration, just the visual. The implication lingers. What if it's not just possible, but already happening? Imagine a future where the same cellular engine that powers your muscles also keeps your hair pigment alive. Mitochondria are the power plants of every cell, and their health ripples through metabolism, immunity, and even brain function. When they falter, the cascade reaches far beyond a few gray strands. Studies in mice showed that supplementing NAD+ restored mitochondrial respiration and improved tissue health markers, suggesting a systemic benefit that isn't limited to hair follicles. Source: In parallel, research uncovered that mutations in mitochondrial DNA within melanocyte stem cells trigger premature graying, linking the organelle's integrity directly to pigment maintenance. Source: Together, these findings tell us that bolstering mitochondrial function could influence multiple age-related pathways, from energy balance to cognitive resilience. If you're intrigued, NAD plus precursors such as nicotinamide mononucleotide, NMN, are already available as dietary supplements. A double-blind, placebo-controlled trial demonstrated that oral NMN was safe and modestly raised NAD plus levels in healthy adults, laying a factual foundation for responsible experimentation. Source. However, the FDA makes it clear that supplements cannot claim to treat, diagnose, or prevent disease without formal approval. Source. The New York Times also reminds us that while mitochondrial therapies hold promise, the market is still rife with hype, and no FDA-approved anti-aging treatments exist yet. Source. So what's the responsible path forward? Start by consulting a healthcare professional, especially if you have underlying conditions or take medications. Choose products that test for purity and disclose dosage. Track how you feel energy, sleep, and even subtle changes in hair tone, while remembering that results vary and long-term effects are still under investigation. Think of mitochondria as the city's power grid. When the generators run smoothly, streets stay lit, traffic flows, and emergencies are managed. Robust mitochondrial function has been linked to better heart muscle performance, clearer brain signaling, and a more responsive immune system, all reflected in the improved tissue health markers observed in animal studies. Source. Your journey toward healthier cells starts today. Choose wisely and stay informed. Now is the moment to turn curiosity into action. If you found this glimpse into mitochondrial health compelling, hit the subscribe button so you won't miss our next deep dive into longevity science. Share your experiences or questions about NAD plus supplements in the comments below. Your story could help others navigate the same crossroads. Together, we can map the frontier of healthy aging, one mitochondrion at a time.